Welcome to all my listeners and the viewers. Today we are taking the class 9 topic and the topic is polynomial. Now, as we know that maths is a language and the different ways of learning the maths through the number, diagram, variable or words problem. So, apart from that, we are learning the maths through the variable. So, what are the polynomial? What are the polynomial? Before that, we are discussed that the terms related to the polynomial. So the first is a constant. What are the constant means? Component which never change its value or magnitude is known as constant. All the real number we consider as a constant. Now variable, what are the variables are? Component of any terms or expression or equation which varies situation to situation is known as variable. All the variables are represented by alphabetical letters. Now, if we are having a constant and the variable, when we have just combined the variable and constant as a product, so what we have to call these things are, suppose that 5 is the constant, x is the variable and the variable raised to the some exponent. So now it is called a term. So when it having a product of a constant, variable of a exponent, so these are called the terms. Terms is an element which is a combination of four things: sign, number, variable and power. Or a terms always has four sign, plus, minus. Number may be your real number and the variable, and the power any rational numbers. Now, what is an algebraic expression? It is an expression which consists of a variable and constant with using a algebraic operator we consider as a algebraic expression. Now, we can just see that some examples of a algebraic expression are 5x raised to the power minus 4, where x raised to the power 2 and 5 is considered as a coefficient, where 4 is a constant. In the simple term, we consider as when we are having the terms, when we just combining the number of terms, so that one we consider as an algebraic expression. Now, the next thing we are going to learn what are a polynomial. Now, how gonna we just define a polynomial? An algebraic expression is in the form of a0 x raised to the power 0 plus a1 x raised to the power 1 plus a2 x raised to the power 2 and dot dot an x raised to the power n. So this one is a polynomial in one variable. Why we just consider it as a one variable? Because we only using a one variable, that is why called a polynomial in one variable, whereas a0, a1, a2 dot dot an, these are all the real value and n is belongs to non-negative integer is known as the polynomial of degree n. Yes, ध्यान यही रखेंगे कि यदि कोई भी पॉलिनोमियल है तो पॉलिनोमियल में जितनी भी जो वेरिएबल होंगे आपके, तो उस वेरिएबल के जो पार्ट्स होंगे दैट ऑलवेज बी अ होल नंबर. It not should be a rational number or negative integer. So some of the examples are of a polynomial. Suppose that px is equal to 3x minus 2. So this is the polynomial and this polynomial in variable x. Now you can just see that the power of this variable is free of negative integer or rational. That is why we consider as a polynomial. Since it having only a one variable, so we consider as a polynomial in one variable. Now the next example is fu, that means it is the polynomial and the polynomial in u, and this one is also a polynomial in one variable. 1 upon 2 u raised to the power 3 minus 3u square plus 4 2u minus 4 is the polynomial in variable u. As we know that if a term is consist of three things: the numbers, variable and the exponent. So what are the conditions for r? Now, where a is called the coefficient, So coefficient. What are the conditions for a coefficient? Any real number can be a coefficient. So you take any real number and those all real number we consider as a coefficient. Now, condition for the variable. There is no limit on the number of variable. It doesn't mean there is a restriction that we are only using one or two variable. It's not possible. You take number of variable, when you start to merge itself, then we consider as the polynomial, and those polynomials are having a number of variables are. Now, condition for the exponent. The exponent has to be a whole number. Yes, the exponent should be a whole number. For when we are considering any polynomial should be that the power of a polynomial should be free of negative integers. Now types of polynomial. The types of polynomial means the polynomials can be categorized on the basis of the terms and the power, that means the degree. Now, how wanna we just categorize the polynomial on the basis of the term? The first one is monomial. Mono means one. A polynomial having one term is called a monomial. Now, some of the examples are, if it has only a one term, we consider as a monomial. Now, next one is binomial. Binomial means a polynomial having two terms is called a binomial. Binomial, bi means two, that is why it called a binomial. And the general form is ax plus b. Why? Because it consists of two terms, ax plus b, whereas plus is separator. Plus and minus are the separator which separate the terms. Now next one is, what are the trinomials are? A polynomial having three terms is called a trinomial. Tri means three. If any polynomial which has three terms, we consider as a trinomial. Now next one is multinomial. This one is a multinomial. What are the multinomial? If the number of terms is more than 3, then it is called a multinomial. And these are all the examples of a multinomial. Now next one is zero polynomial. The number itself is known as the zero polynomial. The zero polynomial is neither monomial, nor binomial, nor trinomial, and nor multinomial. Or a real number alpha is the zero of a polynomial if and only x is equal to 0. Now the next one is, the polynomial can be defined on the basis of its degree. The first one is, what are the degree of a polynomial? The highest power of a polynomial is known as its degree. The first one is constant polynomial. A polynomial of degree 0 is called a constant polynomial. For example, fx is equal to 7. 7 is the constant. If we have to write any variable and the variable raised to the power 0, so the a raised to the power 0, its value is 1. So that is why we just consider as a constant polynomial. So these are all the examples of a constant polynomial. Now the constant polynomial 0 or fx is called a 0 of polynomial. The degree of our 0 polynomial is not defined, because fx is equal to 0, gx is equal to, that means 0 into x. So that is why we are not defining. All are equal to the 0 polynomial. Now next one is linear polynomial. What are the linear polynomial? A polynomial of degree 1. Yes, यदि किसी भी polynomial की अगर degree 1 हो, तो we consider as a linear polynomial. And these are the general form of to express a linear polynomial. Ax raised to the power 1. Why we just called up linear polynomial? Because the degree of a variable is 1. That is why we called a linear polynomial. Next one is quadratic polynomial. A polynomial of degree 2 is called a quadratic polynomial. The name quadratic has mean derived from the quadrant, which means the square. So example are, fx is equal to 2x raised to the power 2 plus 3x minus 4. And the general form of representing a quadratic polynomial, fx is equal to ax square plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are the real number and a is not equal to 0. Now the next one is cubic polynomial. A polynomial of degree 3 is called a cubic polynomial, and because since it has the degree is 3, that is why it's called a cubic polynomial. And the examples, that means if we represent in the general form ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d, where a is not equal to 0, a, b, c, d are any real number. Now next one is biquadratic. What are the biquadratic polynomials are? A polynomial of degree 4 is called a biquadratic polynomial. A biquadratic polynomial is known as a quadratic polynomial because, and the general form of to represent the biquadratic are ax raised to the power 4. Yes, when the highest power of a polynomial is 4, we consider as a biquadratic polynomial, where a, b, c, d and e are any real number and a should not equal to 0. Now the next one is, what are the standard form of a polynomial? A polynomial written either in descending power in x or ascending power in x is called the standard form of a polynomial. So these are the things that to defining that what are the polynomial and the terms related to the polynomial. Then after that we are also learning that the different types of the polynomial, they are defined on the basis of their terms and the degree. Now the next one is the value of a polynomial. What are the value of a polynomials are? Suppose that if the fx is the polynomial and x is any real number, then the real number is obtained by replacing x by alpha in fx is called the value of fx at x is equal to alpha. Then it is denoted by f alpha. Suppose that if px is equal to 5x plus 2, how will we just find the value of a polynomial? If we just find the x is equal to 2, so x is replaced by 2. So if I write that p2 is equal to 5 into 2 plus 2, that means 5 2 is 10 plus 2, that means the 12. So at p2 is equal to 12. So this is called the value of a polynomial. Now the next one is the zero of a polynomial. What are the zero of a polynomial? A number a is said to be a zero of a polynomial px if pa is equal to 0. That is the value of a polynomial px at x is equal to 0 is called a zero of a polynomial. For example, if we are having 4 is the zero of a polynomial, that means x square minus 5x plus 4, because p4, that means 4 square minus 5 into 4 plus 4, so its value becomes the 0, so we consider as 4 is a zero of a polynomial. Now these things, that means the value of a polynomial and a zero of a polynomial. Now these are the two different terms, and these two different types of terms we are learning through a diagram. So what are the really means of a value of a polynomial and the zero of a polynomial? Now as we can see that I told you that maths is all about a language. So the different ways of the learning the maths are the number, variable, diagram and words problem. Now the variable can be also represented as a diagram. So we are taking as a x-axis and y-axis. Now as you know that if I taking a linear equation, those linear equations form a straight line. Now suppose that this one is a straight line. Y is equal to ax plus b, where a is not equal to the 0. Now what is the